So did you everybody watch the episode of Stargate SG1, Thor's Hammer,
Yes,
from
ma'am.
season one?
Yeah. I was surprised it wasn't. I was sitting down expecting something like Star Trek length, and the fact that it was shorter threw me off for
What do you mean short? It was like I
like
think
a half hour versus 45 minutes. Or
this was 40 something minutes.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't. Now I don't think you watched it. Well, we'll see. We'll see
Oh,
how it
I
goes.
definitely watched
Do you
it.
guys?
I liked how immediately familiar the whole format felt. Like I'm just
Yeah.
watching it and like everything. Like as soon as it started, and I was like, "Good grief, Stargate!" And then it started doing its thing, and it has its music, and all the people look like people I remember seeing on television. And I'm like, "This is like." It's like finding like an old sweater that you haven't worn in a long time, and it just got kind of like lost in your closet. And it's like, I
Yeah.
haven't seen you in 8 years. I forgot you even existed. And you put it on, it's like it fits great.
Yeah.
I'm glad I hadn't put this sweater on for 8 years because now it doesn't have holes, and it would have if I'd been wearing it for the last decade. And then it kind of like and I was watching it with like, so initially I was optimistic. That's what I'm saying.
Why? Well, you remember we discussed I wasn't gonna show you like some great television. It was just
No,
supposed
that's
to be
cool.
middle of the road. I looked up. I was like,
Totally cool. As I was watching it, I had that in my mind. I'm like, I can't. So I'm trying to think. I'm like, is Andrew showing me this because he thinks I'll like it? Or is he showing me this because he thinks it's rotten? And I'm like, I can't really. I'm not sure.
yeah.
So I was.
Well,
trying to
I will
figure out.
reveal my decision later on in the discussion here.
All right.
The reasoning behind it. Well, one of the things about Stargate too is this takes place during a time in television where things are like started and resolved in the 40 minutes. So it's not like.
Remind me what the year is that this thing
This
came
is
out. I'm talking like
1997. This is
I was
19
going to say
yeah.
97.
Yeah.
I was about to guess 97.
So it's
This is like.
it's in that era
you
of
know,
television where, but there is like stuff.
like Ultima Online.
There is
friggin-
references to other things that happened previously in the season,
Final Fantasy 6.
so-
That's 97.
I guess.
No, 7. 7 came out in 97.
So what happens is between the movie and now, in the first episode, it turns out that Ra wasn't the only, evil space alien. And so Colonel O'Neill, who is the Kurt Russell character from the movie, now played by MacGyver. So MacGyver takes a team back to the planet where the movie took place to get the Daniel Jackson character, which was the James Spader in the movie, and now is, I don't know what the actor's name is, but so they go to get Dr. Jackson, who's been living on the desert planet, and he's got a wife, and like he's got all his desert friends, and then the bad guy, the main bad guy of the show, shows up, takes his wife, and so what these aliens are they're like snake, like parasite things.
I was not prepared for the sort of space Egyptian kind of Worf-like guy to have a mealworm pop out of his chest. Like I didn't. I was like, suddenly it's just like,
Yes,
and
teal.
They do it in a very matter-of-fact way because it's like he gets zapped by something, and then suddenly it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
So
and I'm like, what the?
yeah.
What just happened? And then the guy's like, is your friend okay? And I'm like,
Teal.
so I've been watching this show, and I'm like, I don't recognize that character from the movie, and I'm like, what is this guy? He's kind of like, they're like, we need someone like that's like a Vulcan version of Worf, but with like, but not going far enough in either direction to like really to but at the same time, and he's got a gremlin inside of him.
Yeah. So Teal'c is a Jaffa who was a former first prime of Apophis, who was like the main bad guy the first few seasons. So Apophis, I think he's like Ra's brother or something. So they killed Ra in the movie, obviously, so they need another Ra. So basically they just made another one. And so he's a defector. And his race of people are like a human hybrid where they have the infant version. They have of the parasites that go into the people and body snatch people. So he's got one of the snakes in him, but it's not mature enough to actually like take over a person's body. So he's like an incubator, basically. He's like a former slave for the bad guy, and then he like barbershop windowed him and rescued MacGyver and Dr. Jackson and Colonel Carter, or not Colonel Carter, Captain Carter. She's a colonel later in the thing, but yeah, she's a captain.
Spoilers.
Yeah, well, you know, it happens.
You know what? So that's a random thing. A thing that struck me while I was watching the show was the Carter character and the scientist character. I feel like typically in shows those roles are reversed. Like it's a lady that's the scientist that's doing all the sciencey sorts of things, and there's usually a dude that's like the you know, like wandering around with a gun and being distrustful of people and so on. It was interesting to me to see those kind of flipped around.
So to wrap up the backstory, Dr. Jackson's wife gets a snake put in her head, and he basically joins SG1 and goes out on the missions because he wants to like find her and rescue her and get the snake out of her head so he can have his wife back.
Yeah, which brings us back to like literally the end of the episode where they're just like, now you got to destroy the device you used to remove the snake from your wife's head.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Wait. Okay, there we go. All right.
There he is.
So yes.
Those are kind of like
so
he looks
so
like
I'll
he's
get
got
into
some
it.
of the. He looks like he has a bunch of the sort of like the housewife surgery.
He's
like
got a lot of
Desperate
makeup.
Housewives.
Yeah. Yes.
He's, you know.
It's a big fella.
Why does he have a medallion in his forehead?
It's
part of his.
Yeah, I think that's like it's like a tattoo that's like
It's like
fused
when you
onto his
have a letter.
forehead.
Like a really fancy letter, and you put the muck on the back in a little seal. It's kind of like this letter hasn't been opened. You can tell because it has the wax.
No, yeah, he's been branded. But yeah, so it starts off with they're in like a meeting, and Dr. Jackson just happens to have this wild theory that, well, we've ran into the bad gods. Perhaps maybe there's good gods, and well, Thor was a good god who liked humans, so maybe Thor is out there. And then, you know, we see the image of Thor on this very high-tech computer.
I love that monitor.
I was about to say.
And
wonderful.
Yeah.
It really tickles
He
me.
mentions.
And Top Middle's haircut was like it's about 3 years past the expiration date. Top Middle's haircut. That's like, you know,
he gets a haircut.
I'd give him the benefit of the doubt in 94, 95, but by 97, it's like, buddy, you know.
He's Canadian, okay.
Oh. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So
also, who's the actor bottom right with the baldish head?
that is the general. He's I don't know what his name is, but he was
I like that they used him to bookend the episodes.
Scully's in X-Files. He played Agent Scully's father in one episode. So I don't know if that's yeah. But he's not a very good actor.
No.
But yeah,
isn't.
so Dr. Jackson mentions Thor's hammer, and it just so happens, conveniently, that Teal'c, I have seen the image of the hammer, the hammer symbol.
They started off so ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like, he's like, they're trying to. Suddenly, he just starts talking about Thor, and like, no one in the room is like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" Then suddenly, it's just a thing, and it turns out to be right. And it's like, this is such a stretch, you know.
But and he so happens, Teal'c has heard of the hammer, and he knows the coordinates to he knows the combination to get to the planet. It's very convenient.
All of his people know it.
Yeah, and so MacGyver's like, "Hey, General, maybe we should go there, maybe get some allies." And then General's like, "You have a go," and that's like his, that's what he says when a mission's been approved. He says, "You have a go," and they send him off. He takes the box so he can like his greeting, so he can greet the space aliens, and they get to the planet, and all of a sudden,
going through the portal effect is pretty fancy.
Yeah. That's got to be reused from the movie, right? They just had that effect.
Sure.
done.
I think it's
it looked very similar.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think I saw somewhere it wasn't even like CG, like the whoosh. The actual like water, the still water in the thing is obviously CG, but the whoosh is just like
I love how
air
there's
being.
8 guys chilling in
Yeah.
their PJs out by an empty cart.
Now
We're just hanging out by the Stargate, and it's all covered in dirt, and they're just out there in dirty clothes and helmets on and stuff like that.
we're in
It's ready to
Viking
go.
World. We've arrived in Viking World, and they just
VW.
start chanting. They start chanting for Thor, and then SG1 looks up and they see this like sculpture type thing, and it starts shooting out a blue laser, and then it zeroes in on Teal'c and senses the parasite he has in his belly, and it zaps him out of there, and then MacGyver goes in for the tackle, and it transports both of them to who knows where, and Carter and Jackson are like, "Oh my God, I think they're."
You just reminded me of the best part of this episode, but it comes later.
Yeah.
Not anything yet.
And so.
And this is the point where they cut to like the intro sequence.
The
right?
intro,
Where they go to
yeah.
music. Yeah, that's when it like because at first I'm watching this and I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous.
Well, they gotta set it up.
But then they go to start doing the music, and then I'm brought back down. I'm like, this is perfect. This is what TV is like.
Yeah, it was a super long intro though. I'll tell you that.
I was here for it.
I skip intro.
I think the intro is my favorite part of the show.
And then this lady shows up on her horse galloping. Meanwhile, so not only did Thor transport humans to this planet, but he also brought horses. Because, or either that or horses, maybe they're native. Also, I forgot, often is a theme in Stargate, is a lot of planets, they just kind of look like, Earth in the woods.
Him, Andrew.
Class him. They kind of look like the woods in Canada or something, Vancouver or something.
This is Viking New Jersey.
Yeah. So this lady shows up, and Carter and Jackson are like, "Oh, who's this?" And then she assumes that they're gods because they came through the portal, and then they're like, "No, we're not gods." And she's like, "Oh, okay, you're not gods." And then they tell them how their friends just got zapped, and she's like, "Oh yeah, your friends were Ettins." And it's like, that must be some fancy term or something for like, bad guys. And
like a giant with two heads.
And then, they tell them they need to find their friends. And they don't call for backup, too. Which, at the start, Captain Carter's like, "Hey, we should go back to Earth and get backup." And they're like, and then this lady showed up, and they're like, "No, we won't do that." And then they're like,
it under control.
Yeah. And they're just like, "Do you know anybody that can help us?" And it's like, "Oh,
First,
yeah."
They want to have some space Viking waffles and have a nice little sit at their little picnic table. It's a nice day.
Yeah.
MacGyver's got it under control.
Yeah.
I've seen him. He can make a toaster oven out of some paper clips and an old horseshoe and some bubble gum.
Yeah.
He's got it under control.
So it just so happens there is a lady that can help them find their friends. There's a lady she was found in the mountains, just randomly wandering around. So they take him to her, and then she starts using the device. And the reason they freak out when they see the device being used is because that is the device that the bad guys, the Goa'ulds, they also use that kind of that technology.
That's the thing. So Goa'uld or Gould, people use them.
It's both. It's like there's like a thing in there. So it kind of looks like two words. But it's Goa'uld, or you can say Goa'uld.
It was just bugging.
Are you talking about a hyphen? Jesus Christ.
So that's, this guy's the thing. So they freak, they talk to this lady, and she's like, maybe I can help you. And then they have a little meal together. They have a bit of a meal. And
they're drinking out of horns.
Yeah, and every time like the thunder, the sky rumbles.
Yeah, she talks to the friggin' lightning or whatever.
And she's like, "Thor wants me to help you." And so it's like, great. So they're gonna help him, and then
real skeptical.
While they're she's the scientist of the group. She's into science.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I thought she was just like a military character.
No, she's military. So
who's the geek in the bucket hat?
Dr. Jackson, he's an anthropologist. He's the guy from the movie. That's the thing. Oh, another thing about this is one of the things that made the movie interesting was that when they went to Desert World, they actually had to like figure out how to communicate with these people who are talking in like ancient Egyptian. Mm-hmm. And then they go to Viking World, and these people know perfect English when I don't think did English.
You only got 40 minutes.
So yeah, I mean, so yeah, they can't just bust out Snickers bars and start trying to communicate with people. But yeah, so and this is where Dr. Jackson starts to realize that, you know, if this lady had the ghoul ripped out of her, or not ripped out of her, but removed from her body, then maybe like there's hope for his wife. And then so you start thinking like, oh sweet. So all he has to do is find his wife, bring her here, she gets zapped in the thing, and then
So
boom,
is
bang,
she
boom.
like missing? Like is she? I never
No,
understood.
she
like, is
was
just at home, like in a cage.
no,
Like, where is
she had the main bad guy Apophis. He has a wife, and he put his wife's parasite into Dr. Jackson's wife. So right now,
Alright.
his wife is body snatched because she was an attractive lady, and they prefer to be an attractive people.
Does him removing the parasite from his wife kill the old wife? And make
No,
the
no, she
other lady the new wife?
no, like if he got so a thing in the series is like something of the host remains like while they're being body snatched.
Yeah.
So that's what the thing is they say, oh, this lady in the red, she was like a religious priestess person, and so she had mind control, and she was able to control the parasite and trick it into going through the Stargate and coming here and getting zapped into the labyrinth. Yes, that was.
Yeah, she mentioned it in the episode. She
Yeah.
talked through it.
So
And
that's,
it's like,
you know.
okay, so you're able to put thoughts into this thing. I'm like, that's okay.
So what I did for this was because I felt like there's two plot lines kind of parallel to each other. I did all their stuff together, and then, you know, so that's why you have the traveling montage to get to the mountain. You have them showing up to the cave, and then they hear the shots and they put on their helmet. And I felt like it would have been cool if they had done all this and then cut to like a black screen that just says like, you know, 5 hours earlier, and then you cut to like them showing up in the cave thing, instead of, because the episode was here's
They just bounce back and forth.
they bounce
in, like,
back and
real
forth,
time.
and it's like, you know.
Did they ever explain why? Like when they were off on the journey, it seemed like the woman didn't know where she was going and she was lost. And they were like, "Is she actually taking us there?" And blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they just arrived, and it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
No, yeah,
so
she
was
you know,
actually like what? So she was just lost." Like,
it was because
It was
I mean,
snowy.
she just had, yeah, it was snowy. That's right. She said the weather was a little different. It looked, you know.
Or they didn't seem to believe it. They seemed to be like, "Oh,
And
maybe she's not taking us."
she
there.
said it
Oh, maybe
was-
she's afraid.
Carter was skeptical. The dude was like, "Oh, we should just trust her, whatever." And then they went.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Carter, she's very, the things she can't explain because she is in science. She's in the military, but she's also into science. The things she can't explain, she gets very like she can't understand. She gets very skeptical. Very, you know, she's like, I don't understand this. I'm very skeptical. I'm very smart, you see. That's kind of her attitude towards things. So, yeah. So, cut to, they're in the
This
labyrinth.
guy. Yeah, we've got Dollar Store Thor over here.
Oh,
Studded leather,
Thor.
friggin' tape.
It's Thor.
It's not just his little helmet thing there.
Yeah. It's Thor. Or is it?
Yeah, is it?
Is it? That's it turns out it's not Thor. It's just like a hologram.
It's
And
actually Thor.
and then they're like, all right, let's figure out how to get out of here. And then they find some suspicious bones on the ground.
They sure do.
And it's
and now,
like,
and now can we talk about the best part of this fucking episode?
Yes.
Which is the fact that fucking James Earl Jones is this
yeah.
monster.
All right, well, yeah.
What?
You didn't.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't even pick up on that.
so I've seen this episode.
Jones.
I've seen
Is
this.
it real? Is he the
Oh, yeah.
character and the voice, or just the voice?
Just
I
the.
do- I-
I assume just the voice. So
Yeah.
I've seen
I
this.
missed it completely.
I've seen this episode like 3 or 4 times. And every time I watch it, I'm like, my reaction is, man, that guy does a really good James Earl Jones impression. And as I was like skimming through it, I came on the title card thing where it says, and James Earl Jones, and I was like, wait, he's actually in this?
I saw it in the opening credits, and I was real fired up. I was like, "Fucking James Earl Jones!" In this
That's-
episode? What?
That's actually why. That's why I picked the episode, actually, because there was another episode with another actor from another show in it, and I was like, oh, maybe this one, and then I was like, no, let's check this one out, and then when I realized his voice was actually in it, I was like, well, this is the one. Plus, this episode has a lot of lore in it and stuff that is relevant to like future episodes, so but yeah.
So what you're saying is that
He doesn't have a lot of lines, but yeah.
Simba's father got sucked into
Simba's
Thor's
father,
hammer
King
after falling
Jaffe
through a
Jofur,
Stargate.
Thulsa Doom, Darth Vader.
Fucking Vader.
Yeah.
Good grief.
But yeah.
The Great.
Mufasa.
So
No, that's Boris.
so they find the bones. They check to see if their weapons work, and the staff weapon, that's what that's called, a staff weapon.
My laser spear is defunct.
Yeah, but Colonel O'Neill's gun works, and it awakens a beast in the cave.
Like the first one or something?
Unas. He's called an Unas. And Unas approaches. And he's like, I am Unas. And it turns out that these were what the Goa'ulds used as hosts before they discovered Earth and enslaved humanity. They used these creatures because they actually evolved on the same planet as them, so that's how they got off their
Show
planet.
up in other episodes?
Yeah,
And this one's just been trapped in this cave for like a bajillion years.
And he just eats the people that get trapped with him.
So that happens often, that people get trapped like once or twice a week in this thing?
They mention in the episode that his species has the ability to like hibernate for long periods of time. So that's,
there's a lot of plot convenience.
Place is just, this whole labyrinth is just full of Unas dumps.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Oh, Miss Stink. That's the But yeah, so Teal'c's like, oh my god. And then MacGyver just lights him up.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, he's dead.
Yeah.
And MacGyver's like, are you sure he's dead? He's like, yes.
Yeah, he should have always show up with a machete and just
Why
chop
didn't he
his
just
head
cut
off.
his head off? Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like, I was
know.
thinking the same. I'm like, you're not sure. Why he doesn't have like a knife or something?
Because,
Cut his eyes out or
that
something.
would-
He looks like a monster.
like the whole episode would be over if you did that. But then before commercial break, we see the eyes of the guy glow, which means he's still alive. And they're kind of, wandering around, and
It's like gun him down 3 times.
Teal'c's
And then they tussle.
Teal'c's giving him a backstory on what an Unas is, and then he shows up again, and they light him up for the second time, and then after they light him up, they're like, we found the exit, and MacGyver's like, come on, let's go, and then Teal'c tries to go through, but he can't because he still has that thing in his gut, and it won't let him through, and before he can get got, MacGyver stops him before something bad happens, because if he loses that worm in him, he's dead. Done.
So this friggin' monster thing has been living in this cave for
A long
possibly
time.
hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yeah.
Filling the place up with friggin' dumps and bones. And then, MacGyver and his
Jaffa Teal'c.
and Walmart kind of like roll into this joint. And then he just kind of, trips into the friggin' laser thing that aces him straight up. Like, even though,
Well, he shows up again for the third time, and then here's the tussle. Okay, here's the tussle.
But he just went right into that door. Like, he just was backing into it like it was no big deal. Like,
Well,
he
they
had
were
no
lighting
plan
him
for
up.
this.
They lit him up again.
He could have just stayed away from the door. I mean, he knows he's going to be revived. It's like, you can shoot me all you want. I'll keep dying, but I'm going to stay away from that door. That's the only thing in this space, toilet that can kill me.
Well, it isn't as much so the doorway isn't the thing that kills him. What kills him is he loses his snake. So the parasite, the Goa'uld creature, has healing properties. It's able to heal him.
Yeah.
So when he loses that, he loses his ability to heal, and now he's full of bullet holes, and he can't heal, and so that's how he dies.
The combo with the bullet holes and the loss of the quick healing factor.
Yes, and so it's around this time. This is when Dr. Jackson and Captain Carter put their helmets on. They're like, I hear shots. And then they go up, and that's when they show up. They scamper in, they see him there. They're just kind of like...
and then they're like, dude, dude whose wife could really use this machine to save her from her slavery. How
So
about you be the one to blow up the machine?
so that's the
Yeah.
best part is that like
You take the
is that
laser
MacGyver
stick.
MacGyver could easily go through the doorway and do it himself, but he's like
doesn't.
he's like no, I want to see you do it. I want to know you're loyal to the cause. He does it.
And he just
No
does it.
hesitation.
He's pretty
Yeah.
chill about it too. He's like, you know what? There's probably other fucking space doors that can save my wife.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just gonna laser it. You know, I don't want to look bad in front of MacGyver. That'd be uncomfortable.
And so, Teal'c waltzes through. Day is saved. But now you have to consider the fact that they just ruined this whole world's defense.
Yes.
So who knows?
Yeah,
maybe
then
that'll,
they're
come
They're
back
just
up.
like, oh, at least the cave is kind of closed in, so that'll just keep
Yeah.
people in there.
Oh no, yeah, they
So
tell him.
amazed.
They'll just, just close it. Just close it. Be
Just
good.
block it off. It's just as good as a space door that could murder them. And it's literally had this giant
Yeah.
demon trapped in there for 1,000 years. I bet a big pile of rocks will achieve approximately the same result. You know.
Also, these
And
people.
the lightning and thunder seems to agree.
Yeah. Also, these people, they were taken from Earth probably like 1,000 years ago and have not evolved at all, other than maybe like socially, but technologically they're still wearing pajamas and pushing carts.
Yeah, they look like they still shit in holes. They haven't made it very far at all.
So,
They haven't had
Yeah.
a space Tesla or a space Edison or any of that fun stuff.
so what'd you guys think of Stargate?
I mean, for all I've shit on it, I felt like very nostalgic in that the format was so familiar, and it was such like this was a time when I was watching so much television that it's like this is the format of television that I'm most accustomed to, and like seeing all the old computers and stuff. The only thing that could have made it better was commercials, like having
Yeah.
having some really good like old commercials in there for crap that I haven't seen in a long time, or like even for it's like some baseball game that's happening like on Thursday night or some but it was just so it was hard to I mean the show, if it was modernized, if you took the exact same plot and people who were the equivalent of the same actors and remade this entire thing in 2022, I'd be like, this is garbage, like this is stupid, I can't believe it. But because of how it's all packaged, it's like it's it redeems it. But I'm sure that would have a shelf life. If I was subjected to enough of these, that were like that, I'd eventually lose my mind.